So they're called preliminary exercises, and they're all the things that kids need to know for you to help set expectations of the environment and for them to know how to do activities and lessons in the classroom, because it's everything that leads up to them basically. So normally I would have you guys actually like have like a circle time with me to demonstrate some of these things. Right now the office is crazy messy, so we're gonna pretend circle time sitting at the table, but we'll do kind of some discussion and troubleshooting of what this would actually look like in your own environment. Now, Hasiba, just so you are aware, most of the activities that we're covering for the first several weeks are not infant specific. Doesn't mean that you can't do some of these activities in your classroom, but they're primarily more geared towards the toddler and up. So we will discuss differentiating between what it would look like in a toddler environment versus a children's house environment, because expectations are obviously going to be different. So one of the first activities would be sitting on a line. And this would be kind of your circle time, where you have them sit at a specific spot on your rug, if you have a rug in your classroom. Some Montessori environments literally just have a line that's like in an ellipse shape, and so you have line time instead of circle time, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
So basically the materials that you would need for this activity is going to be a designated circle spot in your classroom. So if you have like letters or shapes or something specific that your children are supposed to sit on, that's what you would use to designate that.
Okay.
With all of our preliminary exercises, you're basically establishing expectations by modeling the behavior you want to see from your students. And we never have an expectation without giving a lesson on what that expectation looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the purpose of these activities, is to give an actual lesson for an expectation.
Okay.
So for sitting on a line, an example of what this could look like, if it's just say you have an actual line on your circle. You'd ask all the children to come over and stand behind the line at circle, and you would walk around and designate, like, are you standing where I asked you to stand? Oh, do you see the line in front of your feet? The line's right there. You're doing a good job standing. And then you want to model how to properly sit. So we're all at circle, we're all standing in our right spots. Now everyone have a seat. And you can actually demonstrate what that looks like to sit down. What is the expected seating arrangement for the kids? Crisscross applesauce, spoons in your bowl. If you have a certain saying like that you want to use, make sure your co-teachers are on board with that saying so that you guys can be consistent about your expectations. What do you guys use?
So we were using sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was crisscross in the toddler room.
Oh, I do. There's two different ones I've done. I haven't done it since you've been in there, but I'll either do crisscross applesauce, hands in your laps, eyes on your teacher, and that is that. Or I'll say crisscross applesauce, sit down on the floor, criss your legs like a twisted pretzel by the count of 4. And I'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, and I get quiet on it. Now we'll see it on the floor, and I'll say that, and I'll say hands in your laps, eyes on your teacher, and then we'll do that. And that wasn't working today, so we went back.
And that was working.
It was a new group, like the first one we did good, but this is a newer group, so I went back to but they know as soon as they say it, like, they know I don't have them sit like on the carpet, we sit on the or like on the edge of the carpet, that way they're on the line of it, and then there's that space, and there's plenty of room for them all to sit and be able to sit crisscross, but they do it.
Mm-hmm. We were having a hard time because I had a hard time with crisscross applesauce, because a lot of them don't really, they're kind of, I don't know, I like to give them options.
Yeah.
So we tell them you can either sit on your knees or you can sit crisscross applesauce. So that's what we do.
Okay.
Which we do the crisscross applesauce thing, but when they're being rambunctious, I'm like, you have 2 choices. You can sit on your knees or you can sit
And that's good to
crisscross
give them
applesauce.
a choice. I think one of the things that is outlined in the write-up is how it's important to explain why we sit the way we sit, and typically it's for safety.
Mm-hmm.
So now that I'm sitting with my legs crossed and my hands in my lap, you can see my feet are safe and my hands are safe. Nobody can accidentally trip over me or step on my fingers.
Yeah.
So helping explain why we sit that way can also be helpful. And then if you see them like with
More
their
sprawled
hands,
out.
and their legs all over, like, you can actually walk by them and be like, I almost tripped on you. and kind of make a big deal out of like, oh, I love the way that Johnny's sitting. He's sitting so safely right now. And so you can even change your wording from nicely to safely, like to make it an emphasis of why we do that. So, but I'm okay if you end up doing that.
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys were okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, I am. Especially because you're right, sometimes they don't have the
They can't
capability
quite
of
do it.
actually doing a
Yeah,
full
some of ours will
crisscross.
sit with like one leg closed and one leg out in front of them, but that's why I have them sit on the outside of it, because when they do, they've got enough room where if they have to sit with their legs straight out, they can.
A lot of them just want to lay. I don't know. And then at Circle, do you, not to be off topic, do they have to sit down at Circle? Like, do you have to, like in the 2-year-old environment, like if one is up wandering, like obviously what we're doing should be engaging so if they want to sit down at Circle, but like when you have a student that doesn't want to sit at Circle, do you have to not force them, but do you, how, I mean I know that's part of the assistant teacher to like guide them back, but if they're off concentrated on a lesson, like would you
Bring him back
allow
to
them
circle.
to be?
Again, I think that's one of those things where it's kind of a fine line, as long as it's not
Then the
causing
other
a
students
disrupt.
are gonna,
Right.
that's where I have a hard
yeah.
time, but then I am also like, is this a battle? Like
If it's an occasional thing where a child just needs space away from Circle and they're concentrated on something and that it's not affecting anyone negatively, I think that goes back to, is this behavior causing negative,
disruptive,
yeah, something negative for anybody else in the classroom. If it's not harming anyone else, meaning that it's not disrupting your Circle time, then I'm okay with it.
Right.
As they get older, again, expectations can become a little bit more strict,
Right.
especially if they've been in the program for a long time and they know those expectations.
Right.
Occasionally we'll have a child in Children's House that we even will allow them to do something else, because they have developmentally, they're just not ready to be able to sit still for that long of a period of time, or they need time to go calm themselves down to do something. So it's kind of an individual thing. You have to determine what's best for the child and what they're capable of.
Yeah.
But I do agree, going back to, am I being engaging enough?
Exactly.
That would be the number one thing I'd always look at.
Right. And I know that's important. I just know I'm speaking more so of a child who I don't think is just developed. And the second that I say something like about shapes or colors, like he is there because he loves that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking of a student who's very, I just don't think he's able to, he doesn't like sitting down.
No.
He doesn't
I
like
literally.
I have a student
Literally,
like that too, but if
yeah.
I'm singing the entire Circle time, like if I just sing the entire time,
He'll
every
sit.
kid will do,
Yeah.
then
He-
he'll sit.
He'll
He's like,
relax if you sing.
Yeah.
And
But
then
if
once
I
you
even-
stop, he's like, nope.
That's exactly how this child is. He loves learning, he loves singing. So I just didn't know if I should be like more encouraging him to sit, but then it's like, well, that's not really Montessori either.
Yeah,
forcing
I
a
mean,
child.
also
Yeah.
giving them other options, like some kids do better if they can sit in a chair.
Yeah, I can give him
or
more
like,
options.
you can sit at Circle or you can sit at the table right here and watch.
Mhm.
So it's also giving choices like, do you want to sit and participate with us, or do you want to just sit over there and watch us?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even in our elementary classroom right now, I have to give that option to a child because he has a very difficult time sitting. But if he wants to interject and participate in what the group discussion is, then he needs to actually go over and join them.
Right.
He's not going to yell across the room at them because he's
Right.
sitting at a table.
Oh, another one of those teaching moments.
Yes. So always, what is in the best interest of the child, and then of course, overarching classroom. Yeah, those are great questions. And then beyond sitting
The pointer.
on a line, what?
I have a little pointer. It's like just a stick that
The
has like a
little
little
hand
hand
that goes
point.
like
Oh yeah.
And 2 days in a row now, like Friday and today, giving him the pointer and letting him
Go
do
down
the
the
tag, like where
words
the
and-
for our word wall and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Go for it.
Mm-hmm.
You're sitting here, you're doing it.
Yeah, and including helpers.
And then when the
that's
other
sort of
kids,
like
well, when the
really
other
helpful.
kids want to turn, I'm like, hold on, it's his turn. When he's done, then you can do it. And so even if I have to spend 3 minutes and let each one do it, it's I mean it's all
Better
part of the
than-
learning process. So letting them know, and then I'm like, okay, well we'll make that can be your job tomorrow. Like you like that, you can do this tomorrow.
Yeah, some way to physically engage them.
Yeah.
It's very helpful. But then I know you guys do group time in the infant classroom as well,
Yeah.
and so the expectation would look different for that. So what is group time versus line time?
Right.
And as an infant, we're not going to expect that they sit perfectly still
Yeah.
around the circle.
Yeah, the ones
Um,
that sit down and the ones that doesn't move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also have seen where they're all like you'll have 9 babies in there and they're all 100% engaged.
Yeah,
in
yeah.
song.
They just
Yeah.
like clapping when you
Mhm.
sing or read the book, and they just listen and.
So obviously it's not a long circle. You guys don't cover as many
No.
concepts, but
No.
it's still important for them to have that experience
Yeah.
of being in a group. And
These days it's not easy.
it's yeah,
No.
and it goes through phases depending on the different kids that you have and the different
Yeah.
developmental milestones that they're going through. It can look
New
very
babies,
different.
like tiny babies, it's not easy like to do circle time and watch the other ones or take care of the other ones.
Yeah.
So sometimes we just try to keep them safe all day.
The cool thing
Yeah.
I liked that I learned about infants and toddlers and stuff during circle time and singing songs like that when you're singing the songs, even if it looks like the babies are not, if they're not there and engaged, like even when they're off doing their own thing, they're still absorbing
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
I love that about
Yeah.
it
They-
babies. They're
We
just,
have one kid, he doesn't
It's
sit down at
amazing.
circle, he just walk through the room and do like Montessori, put everything down, but as soon as he listen a song he likes, he's turn around and start clapping and
Yeah.
sometimes
it's like
he
he's
come and join
engaged,
us.
it's
you're
just
Yeah.
not
like, wait a second, you are
actively-
listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He just come to circle and sit down and start clapping
That's
and
a good reminder too for my class too, because it's the same thing. Even when
I mean, like you were saying, like as soon as you like see
he's
that
like,
shape,
he's back
he's like,
over here. Yeah.
I heard something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.